Welcome to Amsterdam, the Netherlands, famous for all the canals, the tulips, windmills, and if you're a fan of the UFC, heavyweight fighters Stefan Struve and Alistair Overeem. I'm Chamath Karsandu reporting for MMA Junkie and USA Today, and I've flown to Amsterdam to speak to former multi-time Olympic judo medalist and world champion Edith Bosch.
Hey, I'm Edith Bosch, and I'm the last woman to beat Ronda Rousey.
Oh, that's right. Edith Bosch is also the last woman to defeat Ronda Rousey. In this special feature, I talked to Edith about her rivalry with Ronda during their judo career, their quarterfinal match at the 2008 Beijing Olympics, and what she's made of Ronda's success as an MMA fighter in the UFC. Tell me about the first time you remember meeting Ronda.
Well, I think the first time I saw her was when she was in another weight category. She was one class below me, like under 63 kilos. And other girls said to me, hey, look at her, because she's like a really good junior. She was really young. And it wasn't supposed to be an easy fight, but she lost. She totally freaked out, and I don't know what happened, but I looked at her and I thought, whoa, she's struggling. But I also looked at her and thought, whoa, well, she's a talent.
Right.
So meeting her for the first time, well, it was lots of time later. Okay.
What were your first few impressions of her as an athlete, as a judoka?
Well, I mean, she has a strong attitude. I mean, when she's fighting, she's fighting. She's there. She's all around. She's tough. She looks tough, and she's a good. I mean, if we talk about judo, she was a good judoka, with good techniques and good groundwork. So, yeah.
Did you think when you first saw her that one day you'd be competing against her at the very top elite level?
No, never.
Why?
Because she was like, I'm a tall girl, and she's like, I mean, she's not that tall, and I always thought that she would never go up from 63 until 70 kilos. But she did, and during her judo period, she was a little bit of a chubby. I mean, she wasn't that tight as she is right now. So no, I never thought she would go up to 70 and we would fight in the Olympic Games.
Did you think, looking at her technique at the time, that she would be able to go to the very top of judo?
Yeah. I mean, her groundwork was really good, and she's a good fighter. I mean, you can see it. If you see fighters, you can see, if you see a lot of fighters together, you can pick out some cherries. And you could say, okay, this is one. She can be a big one in judo. Yes.
When you did compete against her, was there any personal animosity between the two of you, or was it purely competitive from a sporting perspective?
Well, I can only talk about my side of the story, and for me it was only competitive.
Right.
Competitive on the mat during the fight, nothing more, nothing less.
Okay. Were there things that she did or things that she said that annoyed you at all during her time in judo?
Well, it's the way she got around. I mean, everything starts with the weigh-in, and everybody's always silent and quiet because a lot of people have to lose weight.
Right.
And when she got into the weighing room, she was already there. I mean, she was talking loud, and she was all busy and wearing pajamas, and I always looked at her, and I was always wondered, like, okay, it already starts here.
Right.
I'm more quiet, and I mean, during my fights with her, I mean, she has an attitude, and what happened to me during fights we had was that it motivated me more to go harder.
What did the judo community, the fans, the media, the other judokas think of Ronda at the time?
Well, I don't know what they thought of her. I mean, on the mat she's a bitch, but you have to be a bitch. I was a bitch too, and we didn't talk, and she seemed a nice girl, and I don't know. I know that there are some. Ronda said that there were some negative feelings, and in her book she said that nobody cheered for her. I never had that feeling.
earlier this year she released her book,
Yeah.
My Fight, Your Fight.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to read it yet?
No, I only read the chapter or the part where we fought each other in the World Championships.
So this is from the 2007 World Championships in Rio de Janeiro, and leading into the semi-final match between the two of you. This is Ronda from the book. I made it to the semi-final. It would be a matchup between me and Edith Bosch, the reigning world champion. She was a 6-foot Dutch chick with an 8-pack. I looked like a hobbit next to her. Bosch and I had fought for the very first time at the German Open a month earlier. I was declared the winner of the match when she was disqualified for doing an illegal armbar on me. She dislocated my elbow in the process. If I had a nemesis during my time competing at 70 kilos, it was Edith Bosch. I knew Bosch would be happy with the matchup. She thought she got an easy draw. I wanted to make sure this would be the last time she was ever glad about having to face me. The referee said, Hajime, begin. And what does Bosch do? The exact same move that got her disqualified in Germany again. And again, she dislocated my elbow. Only this time, the referee didn't see it. I could not believe she had pulled this shit again. I glared across the mat at Bosch. She showed absolutely no remorse, which only made me angrier. Looking at her, I shook my arm out and thought, F you bitch, I'm going to keep going. With 21 seconds to go, she got you on your back for the opponent and won instantly. Ronda continues to say in this part of the book, Bosch lay face down on the mat for a moment, as if she could not believe she had lost. The place exploded after seeing my David versus Goliath moment. The whole crowd erupted, cheering for me. My match with Bosch was the only time I got cheered for in judo. Obviously, she ended up losing in the final of those World Championships in Rio. So first of all, just hearing that back, hearing me read it out to you, what kind of emotions go through your mind just hearing what her take on that whole situation?
Well, first of all, I really have to laugh because she describes me as a Goliath. I mean, I'm a tall girl, but I'm not a giant.
Right.
Maybe in her, the way she looks at me, I am. And there's a lot of assumptions. An assumption that I got a good draw, the assumption that I don't have any remorse because if we go back to the fight in Germany, it wasn't my intention to dislocate her elbow, and after the fight I went up to her and asked her, hey, how are you doing, because hey, I'm sorry. But that's not in the book, of course, because it doesn't sell.
But this is why we're here to speak to you, because this is your opportunity to give your take on things.
Well, I've never thought in any moment of time, I never looked at my competitors as easy. And I knew Ronda would be a tough chick to face. But I never had those feelings during a fight. I mean, when you're fighting, and that's also really why I'm laughing, because she's the girl who now dislocates and breaks elbows for a living, is describing this. And she was like really frustrated and I mean, and also angry.
Right.
And I was just fighting, and the way she described me, as in no remorse. I mean, when you're fighting, I'm also a bitch. I mean, and I don't have time to say, "Oh, I'm sorry." That's the thing you don't do when you're in a fight, and it's the same in MMA as it is in judo. It's just hard on.
Right.
And for me, it's a little bit like the way she describes it. It's so too much, as in I got ahead, and of course 20 seconds before the end, she surprised me, which is judo, which is totally awesome for her part. And of course, I laid down and was like really angry, because I mean 20 seconds in a semi-final and you're ahead, I mean anything can happen, but this can't happen. So I was angry at myself, but I mean I believed I lost. I mean, I was flat on my back. There was no doubt that I lost. So I think it's funny because I'm really surprised that she experienced it in this kind of way.
Sure.
And it's funny because, I mean, she's now into MMA and all the elbow breaking and stuff. But on the other hand, I mean, I'm also honored. I mean, she says a Dutch chick with an 8-pack. I mean, I was really well trained, and it's really, I see it in a respectful way.
Okay.
That she sees me as a tough chick who's a good fighter, and I mean, this is also her way of pumping herself up to give it her all against me.
Absolutely. Well, going back to the match in Germany and also in Rio, she said that you used an illegal armbar. Did you use an illegal armbar in those matches?
I don't know for sure. Could have been, but not on purpose.
Okay.
And my intention never was to make like a standing armbar. I was left-handed, and I, as I think of it, I made like a technique, and her arm just straightened, and I just did it 100%. There's no turning back.
Okay.
And when your arm's straight, it's straight.
Sure.
So no, let me say that I never had the intention, and I was disqualified. So the referee thought it was illegal. So yes, I did an illegal thing, but not to hurt her in any way.
I read an article recently which said that after the match you did try and approach her to apologize. Is that true?
Yeah, well, I mean, when Ronda loses, and in MMA she has never lost, so you haven't seen that, but she's like a bull. I mean, she's walking around, she's like that. So I tried to approach her, but I thought, well, just leave it at this, and we were going into a training camp. And when it was more easy, not during the fight, I just went up to her and I said, hey, Ronda, how are you? Because, I mean, how's your elbow? I'm sorry. And then in that moment, she also displayed the same attitude as she did during a fight or when she's fighting. And I mean, there was no vulnerability at all. And I was vulnerable because I said, hey, I'm sorry, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think it's all about respect. And for me, the most important thing was just to let her know that it was never my intention to hurt her. And that was enough for me. Any person read that stuff she says about me, I mean, you probably think I'm a monster. Well, on one hand, I think it's an honor because she look up to me, and on the other hand, it's like, yeah, well, okay, that's Ronda.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's the way she talks. It's not. I mean, she describes me in this way. I mean, if you hear her talk about other competitors or people she fights, it's the same.
Right.
I mean, you have to make yourself bigger. You have to try to pump yourself up to just go in that fight and just rock it.
Going back to those championships in Rio in 2007, she says that's the only time she got cheered for in judo. Why do you think that is? Why do you think she was booed all the time? Is it a shame?
No, it's a shame. It's a shame for her. I mean, she was a good fighter, and to look at it in this kind of way, as in a negative way, and I mean, it's not only that she became second in the world, we both became like third at the Olympics. She got cheered on.
The second part of the book where Ronda mentions you is, of course, prior to the bronze medal matchup at the 2008 Beijing Olympics.
Yes.
So
I haven't heard that part.
You haven't heard this part?
No, so this is good.
Okay, all right.
I'm curious. I haven't read it. So
okay.
Tell me.
No worries. I walked off the mat to check the bracket for my next opponent. The name was written in block lettering, Edith Bosch. It had been 11 months since our World Championship showdown in Rio. And so we meet again, I thought to myself in my best James Bond villain voice. The referee had barely finished saying Hajime when Bosch grabbed me by the collar and straight up punched me in the face. She was pretending like she was going for a grip, but then she launched a straight jab at my face. Then she punched me in the face again and again. The referees didn't care, they let it go. After a scoreless regulation, we went to golden score, a 5-minute overtime where any score wins the match. There was a minute and some change left on the clock. There was time for 1 or 2 more exchanges before time ran out. I went in for an attack, Bosch got away. I went again, this time attempting a throw. Bosch tried to counter, we tumbled to the mat. The crowd roared. For a moment I thought it had gone my way. Then the referee called a score for Bosch. She pumped her fist victoriously. Again, hearing that back now for the very first time, what kind of emotions and memories do you have of that particular match and that moment?
Well, the jabs, I can't remember. So I was like, oh, okay. I know I was a tough chick. I mean, and if you look at my judo, I wasn't a stylish judoka. I mean, my style was like break somebody in 4 minutes, just like the hard way, with tough pulling and stuff, and then afterwards score. I mean, my only goal was to get somebody so frustrated that they would lose focus, so I could throw them.
Right.
About the jabs, man, okay, I'm a tough chick, and if I can get a hold of you, and if I jab you or anything, it's a possibility. She went for a throw, absolutely she went for a throw, and I grabbed her leg and I made the throw. I mean, she went in it all the way and I was just handy. The thing she forgot to mention is that when we were on the ground, she raised her arm like I'm winning, and I was on top of her. I mean, and I thought, okay, if you think you have won right now, I don't know where you come from, but you come out of an eggshelf or something. I mean, you're on your back. And I mean, it was a tough fight that was like going in golden score. So, I mean, winning a fight in the Olympics, I mean, winning the quarterfinal means that you go to the semifinals. Yes, of course, I did like this because I was in the semis at the Olympics again. Yeah. So I was happy. I mean, and you can explain it in every kind of way you want it, but if Ronda would take the fight, she would have done the exact same thing. So that's sports on a high level. That's winning and losing. I mean, the way she describes it, I think it's way too much negativity. I mean, there is something to win, and there's only one Olympic Games in 4 years. And we talked about the fight with Ronda at the World Championships, but the Olympics, it's way bigger. I mean, of course, I was really frustrated about losing at the Worlds, but I would rather win at the Olympics because it's more important. So, and I have to say that back in the days, judo for me was also a mask. I was a tough chick, and judo is fighting. I mean, you don't have to show emotions. You're just giving it your all. And for me, I mean, if you look at the fight at the Olympics, I had short hair. I was looking brutal, and I mean, my attitude and my mindset was, you're in my way, I'm gonna kill you because I want to get a medal. Which is really normal for a high performance athlete. Sure. You need that attitude to be the best in the world or to become the best in the world. So I think it's a little bit negative, but I mean, it sells books, and I mean, it's nice for people to read it. And now you have my side of the story. Yeah. I mean, it's not, I think it's still so funny that, I mean, she talks about jabs and she talks about arm bars and elbows that hurt. I mean, come on, that's her daily business right now. So it's a little bit pathetic if she describes this and she's doing the same thing. I mean, come on. Right. And it's hard. I mean, fighting is hard. So, I mean, I love that she talks about me in that way. So now let's talk about Ronda Rousey, the MMA and UFC star that she is. Yes. What have you made of her dominance since transitioning into MMA? Well, she has done a hell of a job. I mean, I don't know her trainers, but I mean, when you come from judo, you already have the toughness, being hard, and she has a lot of techniques which really come in handy when you're an MMA fighter. I mean, she throws people, she has the armbar, and that's her specialty. So transitioning, I mean, the only thing I have seen in her transitioning is that she has become a fighter, as in like with the jabs and stuff. She has done a hell of a job. When you watch her fights, when you've seen her fights, yeah, does a part of you think to yourself, if I got in there, I think I could beat her? Well, I thought it a couple of times, and I would think, because I have long arms, and if I would get on the ground, I would definitely do other stuff than all the other chicks did so far.
Like what?
Well, I mean, the girl, she broke the arm off, what's her name?
Misha Tate.
Yeah.
I think she dislocated her elbow in that fight, yeah.
Well, I sent Misha Tate a message through Facebook. Keep your arms with you. That's the only thing you have to do, and don't go sit like this because you're gone. I mean, that's the only thing you need to do. But I mean, of course you're wondering what would have happened if I would picked up the MMA as well, and we would be not on a judo tatami, but we would be in a cage and just get it on. I would really love to punch her though. So you're wondering, yes, but that's not a path I chose.
One of the things that she did carry into her MMA career were those amazing judo-style takedowns.
Yeah.
If you could give some of the female bantamweights currently competing in Ronda's division any advice on how to avoid those judo takedowns, what advice would you give them?
Go train judo. Make hours in judo, so you know when she's coming at you that she's going for a throw, and after the throw you know for sure that she's going to do the armbar. She is really comfortable with being close, and when she gets into your zone, you're gone because she's gonna throw you. And she's a good judoka, and she has a good hip throw, so make hours. I mean, of course, because she comes from the judo world, she's in advantage.
All these years later, after your rivalry with her in judo, any hard feelings towards her whatsoever, or is that in the past for you?
No, but I mean, of course we had the rivalry on the mat during the fight, but after the competition I never had that feeling. And no, I only look at her and I think, well done girl, good job, good for you. I would really love to talk to her over a cup of coffee, and would really talk about our judo careers, but also, hey, how did you look at me? Because I read your book, and come on, give it to me straight.
Right.
Then I can give it to you straight as well.
Sure.
And then you can show me who you really are, because I know there's something else, a vulnerable person, somebody who has feelings, fear. I mean, fighting is also fear. Well, maybe there's a truth in it, because I was a bitch and I wanted to fight and I wanted to win and I wanted to be perfect. I mean, I also had my challenges, and I also put on like the mask, as in, okay, now you're a bitch and I'm gonna fight you. But that's behavior. And in my essence, in my gut, I'm a really sweet girl. Only not when I'm fighting.